What the fuck is up, juggalos? This is the Murder Mayhem Show. I'm the host, Mitchell, and I want to talk about ICP's Fury Fest tour. I went last week, that was May 16th, in Wichita, and for me, that's about a 3-hour drive, but a real no-brainer for an ICP show. If you've listened to the Murder Mayhem Show long, you may have heard me talk about taking trips to Dallas, taking trips to Springfield, taking trips wherever I gotta go to see ICP. It's mostly just ICP that I'll go out of town for, although I did go to Texas for a Twisted concert last year, but aside from that, it's only ICP and Juggalo music is the only thing that could get me to make a drive that long. But for ICP, a 3-hour trip on a day that I don't have to work, it's a no-brainer. What the fuck else am I gonna do? Sit at home and not go? No. So not only was I hyped to see ICP perform, of course, but I was doubly hyped because I was doing the VIP. And I went to the VIP with the same plan as I had with the Generation Nightmare tour just the week before. If you listen to the Murder Mayhem show that I did about catching the Generation Nightmare tour, I told you that I went in with the intention of telling Twisted, like, I do this Juggalo podcast, and the more popular my podcast gets, the more people tend to talk about me, and I just wanted to tell them that not to necessarily believe everything they hear about me unless they hear it from my mouth, which is what I told them. They were very receptive to hear the message, so that was what I bought the ICP meet and greet for, with the same intention. Like, for me, the whole benefit of doing the VIP is the meet and greet. Like, you get some cool shit with it a lot of times, especially this time. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for me, the real benefit of spending the $100 on the VIP is the meet and greet. So that was my plan. I was extra hyped for this concert specifically because the openers were all some of my all-time favorites. Like, I would have paid money to see most of these dudes headline their own tours, with the exception possibly of Mushroomhead, but it's always nice to see a Mushroomhead performance anyway because they always fucking kill it. But you got Ouija Mac, you got DJ Paul, you got motherfucking Ritz Biatch, just fucking killing it, crushing it. It felt like a Gathering lineup, honestly. Like, with a night like that, that's like no different than the type of lineup you'd see at a Gathering set. So some of my favorites, Mac Lethal, also one of my favorites. He has not joined the tour quite yet. He'll be hopping on a little bit later. But yeah, I was definitely pumped. On the drive up to Wichita, I thought it would be appropriate to listen to the whole Fred Fury album again from start to finish, as I've done many, many times now. The CD's been out for over 3 months now. And in that time, I've listened to it every which way you can. Start to finish, shuffle play, playing my select favorites, playing it fucking in the car, playing it at home, playing it at work, playing it on my headphones, playing it on the CD, playing it on Spotify, playing it on YouTube. I've been fucking listening to this album like crazy over the last 3 months. And I just wanted to say again, like, man, that shit is so fucking great. Like, it's exactly the ICP CD that I've been waiting for a while. Like, it sounds exactly how it needs to sound. It came out right when it needed to come out. The message is great, the concept, even the packaging, presentation. Just a fantastic album. Exactly what I was looking for in a Joker's card right at this time. So just listening to that shit again in the car on the drive up to the tour really fucking made me appreciate once again how awesome it is to have ICP in my life, putting out stuff like this, making it easier to get through the day. And that's the greatest gift you can give to a person, just making their life not so shitty. And that's what ICP does for me and has been doing for me for the last 20 years. And it hasn't slowed down. They're still fucking bringing it. This is just the type of album that I'm going to keep listening to for the whole rest of my life. Even in my elderly, old-ass age, decades from now, It'll be right in the rotation with Malenko and Riddlebox and Jekyll Brothers and all their fucking all-time greatest hits. Fearless Fred Fury fits right in there. I fucking love it. So I definitely wanted to take some time to just give another congratulations to ICP for putting out a fucking masterpiece. I love it. Love that album. Still good. After all these months, still fucking listening to it. Great stuff. So had an awesome drive up to Wichita. I was also excited because I know that there's a lot of juggalos that I follow on Twitter and that follow me on Twitter that are in the Wichita area, and juggalos that listen to my show. So I knew that some of them were going to be there. I was excited to meet some of them. And I've never been to this venue before, but it was fucking huge. Like, massive. I was very impressed. Like, I got there when the doors open. That's what you're supposed to do when you have VIP, even though the VIP usually doesn't take place for several hours later, but you're supposed to show up when the doors open. So at the time that I got in there weren't a whole lot of people there, so it was mostly empty, and you really saw how fucking huge the place was. Now, of course, as the day went on, more and more people were coming in, of course, but when you first walked in the door, it just really hit you how fucking huge this place was. It was called the Cotillion in Wichita, so if you have a chance to catch a concert at the Cotillion, I recommend it. Like, the number one thing that always annoys me in a venue is when there's no seating. And this place had that shit on lock. Like, all around the whole perimeter of the floor area was just chairs and chairs and chairs, tables and chairs. It was huge. So, nice venue. That was a good sign right off the bat. I got my VIP stuff right when I walked in the door. Mosh Pit Mike was handing those out to the VIPs, which for this tour is a Forgotten Freshness 6 CD, the newly dropped Forgotten Freshness 6, which I'd already listened to it on YouTube and talked about that on the Murder Mayhem show a while back, but it's all about having that physical copy, so I definitely enjoyed getting that. There was also a badass Fearless Fred Fury flag, which was so awesome because I'd been wanting a Fearless Fred Fury poster since the album came out. I even tweeted something about it several months ago, like, damn, I hope ICP puts out some posters for Fred, or else I'm going to have to make one myself. And now I don't have to because I have this badass flag, which is way better than a poster because I fucking shoved the shit in my pocket all night and, unrolled it just fine when I got home. Didn't have to worry about ripping or wrinkling that shit up at all. So I was definitely happy with the giveaways for the tour, but I had to wait a few hours for the meet and greet to start. So in the meantime, I was just kind of chilling, sitting on my ass. Ouija Mac was the first guest out, and he fucking killed it, crushed it. It was really awesome to see him because the last tour that he was at that I went to was Shaggy 2 Dope's Fuck the Fuck Off, Motherfucker. And I did the meet and greet for Shaggy, and that took place during Ouija's set, so I missed some of Ouija's set before. It was nice to feel like I kind of had unfinished business on that end that I got to resolve on this tour. And Ouija, man, I've been watching this dude perform literally as long as he's been a psychopathic artist, because his first psychopathic performance was at the Juggalo March, and that was where I first saw him, and he was all right. I'm not gonna lie about it. He wasn't that great at the March, I thought. He was good. He was okay, but he was more of like a unwatered flower just waiting to blossom into his full potential. And if he's not at his full potential by now, then his full potential will be fucking mind-blowing, because where he's grown even just since then has been immeasurable. Basically what I'm saying is he killed it. He fucking rocked it at the ICP show. He fucking did all of his hits now. He has hits because now juggalos are actually more familiar enough with his music to sing along and shit. So he's got so many mixtapes and whatnot floating around out there. He has a good catalog of music to pull from. His energy is kicked way the fuck up. He was jumping up on stage, doing all kinds of shit to get the crowd hype. His banter was keeping the energy up in between songs. He was doing everything that you're supposed to do as an artist and as a juggalo artist. You know, working to a juggalo crowd is a skill set all on its own, and he's got the shit locked down. So Ouija definitely crushed it. He was the first up to go. And at a lot of juggalo tours, Ouija would be the main support, but on a bill this fucking jam-packed with freshness, he was the first up. So you know that the lineup is going to be badass when even the first opener kills it. There were no local openers that I saw. I don't recall there being any local openers, and I got in there right when the doors opened. So, yeah, that, to me, is a good thing. You know, and it's like, I'm not trying to hate on the local openers out there. The ninjas trying to grind, put their hustle on with their local shows. I understand it's hard for y'all, but let's keep it real talk. A lot of local openers suck, and I was grateful that I didn't have to sit through any of them. So if you're a local opener out there and you're bringing the heat and you put on a good show, I'll buy your album. So it's like, I'm not shitting on you here. I'm a supporter of the underground in every way. But on the other hand, sometimes it's nice to not have to sit through that. So Ouija killed it, crushed it. I'm a big Ouija fan, so I definitely enjoyed that. Next up to go on was Mushroom Head. Pretty sure Mushroom Head was right after Ouija. I'm pretty sure. And Mushroom Head was the one act on the lineup that, like, I'm not a super duper huge fan of. Like, it's not the type of music that I would listen to on my own, but it's just the type of music that fucking kicks ass live. Like, I would by no stretch say that I don't like Mushroom Head. I just said that I'm not a big fan. That's about as harsh as I'll get with them, because I would never say Mushroom Head sucks or that I don't like them, because their live show fucking crushes. And this is maybe the third time I've seen Mushroom Head. I know for sure that they opened for ICP a couple of years back and killed it. And I've also seen them at the Gathering at least once, maybe a few times. So, you know, it's kind of hard to keep track at this stage in my life after so many years of concert going. But I definitely seen them before, and I was definitely hyped to see them again. They killed it. Since I'm not the world's biggest Mushroom Head fan, I'm not 100% sure what's up with their lineup, because didn't they go through some lineup changes and shit recently? I really have no idea. It's even extra hard to tell because they wear those fucking fresh-ass masks. But if you've never seen a Mushroom Head show, I recommend that shit. It's badass, and it got the crowd hyped. Mosh pits and whatnot, always good to see that. So Mushroom Head, good job to them. Next up was DJ Paul. I'm a big DJ Paul fan, man. I've been a DJ Paul fan. Here's a fucking sentence that'll date you. I've been a DJ Paul fan ever since 3-6 Mafia. Now that's actually kind of a long time ago, but I'm talking back probably when the Smoke Clears era is probably when I started getting more and more into 3-6 Mafia. Like, takes me back to smoking weed in high school and my friend's garage, hanging out, listening to some 3-6, kicking it. Been a big fan since before all their lineup changes and shit even. So I've seen the Mafia 6 perform a couple of times. Like, they definitely opened for ICP several years ago, many years ago now. I'm not so sure that I've ever seen Juicy J. I don't think that I have, but I've seen DJ Paul several times at the gatherings and opening for ICP, that kind of stuff. So it's always a good time to see DJ Paul again. I was pumped for him. I love his work on 3-6, obviously, but also his solo projects I really like a lot. And sometimes people tell me that DJ Paul's solo stuff isn't that good, or it's not good. Nah, hard disagree on that one, because DJ Paul's solo shit fucking rocks. Like, when you hear DJ Paul's solo shit, it really shows you what DJ Paul brings to 3-6 Mafia. And the same can be said for Juicy J. When you listen to Juicy J's solo shit, it really shows you what he brings to 3-6 Mafia. And when you put the chocolate and peanut butter together, you get the magic of 3-6 Mafia. But with Juicy, you get a little bit more of the swag tip. And with DJ Paul, you get kind of more of the griminess. And as a juggalo, I love griminess. So I've been a big fan of DJ Paul's entire body of work. Killjoy Club too, of course. So pretty much anything DJ Paul has had his hands in, I've enjoyed. So I was looking forward to seeing him, and he, of course, killed it, crushed it, did a great job as always. I considered doing the DJ Paul VIP, which I didn't do. It was only like $50, but it had a meet and greet and a t-shirt and probably some other stuff. I didn't end up doing it, so I didn't count on meeting DJ Paul, but man, after his set, he went over to his merch booth and he was signing autographs and taking pictures for anybody that bought a piece of his merch. So I fucking jumped on that opportunity. I've never met him, and I just told you what a big fan I am. Never met him. I've had a few opportunities slip through my fingers before, like at the gathering and stuff. Like, there's been times where I've almost met him, but just barely missed my opportunity before he got away. So after all these years, I was definitely ready to seize this opportunity. I went to his merch table, and he had a lot of Hypnotized Minds merch on sale, which to me is kind of an interesting thing. Like, I wonder how that breaks down. Like, I hope Juicy J is getting his cut of that stuff. Not that he needs it, but still, either way, it was cool to have some of that throwback merch there, and like old school style looking 3-6 merch with all the old school group members' pictures on them and things like that. So he had some pretty cool merch, but given that I had dropped $100 on the ICP VIP plus the tank of gas it takes to get to Wichita plus the fucking murderous tolls that it takes to get to Wichita, it's like fucking $7 in tolls just to get there, plus the concert ticket, yada yada yada. So seeing as that I was already spending all this money anyway, I went ahead and like a cheap bastard bought the cheapest thing at his merch table, which was a towel for $10. It was a Hypnotized Minds towel, and it was the cheapest thing in his merch booth. But since he was taking pics and signing autographs for anyone that bought merch, I copped that fresh towel, got my picture with DJ Paul. It wasn't a full-on meet and greet by any means, but hell, paid $10. What do you expect? It was really about 10 seconds worth. As long as it took for them to take the picture is how much time that you had to spend with him. So I took my 10 seconds just to say, DJ Paul, big fan, you're a legend. I love your entire body of work from 3-6 to solo to Killjoy, love it all. He said, thanks, man. I walked off. I fucking walked away feeling good about that shit. Crossed that off the bucket list. Meeting DJ Paul, hell yeah. He's my favorite guy in 3-6 Mafia, and I love Juicy J. And sometimes I feel like, feels like most people either give props to one or the other, or both of them together. But sometimes I feel like not a lot of people give each of them their proper individual respect. Like, Juicy J is a badass solo artist, and DJ Paul is a badass solo artist. And, there's no reason to bring Juicy J into this conversation because he wasn't there. But the point is, DJ Paul is a very substantial artist all on his own. So, love him, good meeting him. Although, speaking of Juicy J, he did have a particularly funny piece of merch at his merch table. DJ Paul did. He had a red hat with the text, "Make DJ Paul and Juicy J 3-6 Mafia again," which I thought was pretty damn funny. So that was good. At about that time, it was getting closer for the ICP meet and greet. So I was kind of standing around with the other VIP holders when Ritz came out, and Ritz I'm a huge fucking fan of. I love Ritz, and I've been loving Ritz since before he was signed to Strange. I gotta pull the hipster card here and say I liked Ritz even back then when he was an unsigned artist. And to be honest, the people that turned me on to Ritz was Twisted. They were the first people I ever heard even say the name Ritz, and that was before he signed to Strange Music. They were gassing up Ritz, talking about Ritz, and that was why I checked him out back in the day. And I've been a big Ritz fan ever since. Been following his career through the entire Strange Music years. And these days he's independent. He does his own shit. Clientele. That's his new shit that he's still kind of in the process of getting off the grounds. Like, it's totally legit, but it's still in its very early phases. So I think it's especially good to support an artist at that phase in their career. Like, he's done the quote unquote major label thing, depending on how you define major label. But, Strange Music is about as major as it gets when it comes to independent labels. He did that. Now he's kind of starting over in a lot of ways. And that's when it's good to really support an artist, I think. So I love Ritz. I was definitely hyped to see him. But at this point, it was kind of looking like I was going to miss most of his set for the meet and greet, which I kind of knew going in that that's how it could break down. It's kind of disappointing how the way they do those meet and greets when it's the opening acts that you actually want to see and you miss them. It's a bummer compared to the Generation Nightmare meet and greet that I did a few weeks ago, where the meet and greet actually took place before the show started. And that was a concert where I didn't want to see any of the openers and ended up sitting through all of them. Here at the Fury Fest, we have the inverse. It's all openers that I wanted to see. Ended up missing out on some of Ritz because of the meet and greet, but it's all good. I knew when I bought the ticket and headed down to the show going into it that that's how it worked, so I'm not mad at it. I do plan on checking another tour stop if possible so that I can actually see the whole show proper, but that was always the plan. So at this point, about halfway into Ritz's set was the lineup for the meet and greet. They took us to the area where we were going to be waiting to meet ICP. And if you've never done the ICP meet and greet or you haven't done it lately, the way that they do it is you go in, you get your autograph, and then you line up again and you get your picture. So the thing that I had brought to be autographed was a Mud, Water, Air, and Blood album. And I don't remember if I brought this up on the episode I did about the Twisted concert, but when I did the Twisted meet and greet at the Generation Nightmare tour, I had brought them a Mud, Water, Air, and Blood album to be signed, knowing that I was going to be going to the Fury tour the next week. That was the plan. Have Twisted sign it at the Generation Nightmare tour, have ICP sign it at the Fury Fest tour, and that's exactly what I did. I went in with that Mud, Water, Air, and Blood album. I also had a Fearless Fred Fury CD on me. I wanted to have them sign both of them, but they told us ahead of going in that we should stick to one item to keep it going quickly, so I obliged with that. Between my Fred Fury CD and my Mud, Water, Air, and Blood, I went with the Mud, Water, Air, and Blood, handed it to them to be signed, which is now signed by Violent J, Shaggy 2 Dope, Jamie Madrox, and Monoxide. So as soon as I can get Blaze on that shit, I'll have a complete work of art there. And if I really want to get fancy with it, I can get the ABK autograph on there too for extra credit. So I was definitely psyched to have that. And as they were signing it, I went into my routine telling them about how I do this podcast and all that stuff. And as I've said on the Murder Mayhem show before, I feel kind of funny getting on here and telling y'all these conversations that I have during the meet and greets because there's some expectation of privacy on their end that they're not expecting everything they talk about to be put on blast on the internet right after. So out of courtesy to them, I don't necessarily want to get into the whole word for word of our conversation, but I do want to talk about it a little bit because I kind of wish that I had a do-over. But first of all, though, on a freshness tip, when I walked in, Shaggy 2 Dope recognized me immediately. If you're a follower of the Murder Mayhem show, you may have heard me talk before about how when I did Shaggy's meet and greet at the Fuck the Fuck Off motherfucker tour, he said that I looked like Les Nessman, and I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I had to Google it. Turned out it was a character from the old 80s sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati. I wasn't familiar, but basically the character was a big nerd, and that's what Shaggy was goofing on when I did his meet and greet. So this time around at the Fury Fest meet and greet, when I walked in, Shaggy was like, "Hey, it's this motherfucker." I was like, "That's right, Les Nessman." And Shaggy goes, "Where's your Band-Aid?" And then I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I felt kind of silly about that right off the bat, but that was just more of a funny thing. But while they were signing my autograph, I first went into telling them how much I love the Fearless Fred Fury album, which is an important thing I also wanted to get out there. But in doing so, I felt like I almost dissed the Missing Link albums, which I didn't mean to whatsoever. I was trying to make the point that, like, after the Missing Link albums, it was great to hear an album that was more in line with my taste, like Fearless Fred Fury. I didn't say it like that because I didn't think before I spoke. The way I ended up saying it almost sounded like I was saying that it was a comeback album after the Missing Link, which is not how I feel. I think the Missing Link albums are fine, but honestly, like, as if you listen to the show, you know that I often say that the Missing Link albums, to me, are the two weakest albums in the entire ICP catalog. So I certainly didn't want to give them the impression that I hate the Missing Link albums. I still like them. I just think that they're the weakest. And in trying to communicate that to them, I almost it sounded like I was talking down about the Missing Link, which is like, why would I do that? Why would I go into this $100 meet and greet and diss their fucking records? So I felt kind of stupid about that on my part. So after that, I was already feeling off my game on that. But when I got into the whole part about I do this podcast and I don't want you to believe anything that you hear about me, Violent J's response was, why? What did you say about us? And I just felt like a fucking idiot. And I know that wasn't his intent at all. He wasn't being a dick whatsoever. From his perspective, it's a totally honest question. It's a totally legitimate response. If someone gets in front of you and says, hey, just so you guys know, anything that you hear about me, don't believe it. It sounds like you were talking shit and that you're now trying to cover it up, which was not at all my meaning. Like when I told that to Twisted, I feel like they got it right away because they spend so much time on the internet. Like, they know how it is. They understand the social media culture. Going in and saying to Twisted, like, hey, just so you know, people talk about me and it's not always true. Right away, they're like, right on, us too. So saying it to them, I feel like it came across a lot clearer. But when I said it to ICP, it did just sound like I was being defensive. It sounded like I was trying to cover something up. Truly what I was doing was a preemptive strike. Like, it was a preemptive defense. Like, just so you know, in the future, if you hear something about me, don't believe it. But instead, what it sounded like was that I had already said something and was now trying to cover my ass. So when Violent J said, why, what did you say? I was just like, oh God, no. I didn't say anything. But it didn't sound any better. It just sounded like I was digging myself out of a stupid asshole that I dug for myself. So, I don't know. You only have like 2 minutes to talk in there, so you kind of got to get your point across quick. Like, if I could have an entire sit-down conversation with them, I think I could clearly communicate what I was trying to say. But as it was, I think I kind of fucked it up. So, if anyone from Psychopathic is listening to this, I just want to reaffirm that point again. I have never talked shit about ICP in my life. It's just that if they do something that I disagree with, and I get on here and say, I disagree with that move, or I didn't think that this album was that great, or I didn't think that that album was that great, or whatever it is, then suddenly people start saying that I'm talking shit, and that's what I was trying to avoid. Like, in my mind, I've never talked shit about ICP in my life, and I stick with that. Talking shit is a very distinctly different thing from a criticism or a disagreement. I love ICP. Favorite band in the world, favorite artists in the world, rap or otherwise, horrorcore or otherwise, juggalo music or otherwise, period. Just art in general across the board. Favorite artists of all time, ICP. Love them. Would never talk shit. Hopefully would never say anything to upset them. That was really what I wanted to communicate in there, but instead, when I walked out, what I felt like I had done was shit on the Missing Link albums and then admit to being some kind of shit talker. So I think I kind of botched my meet and greet experience, to be honest. Fortunately, since it's 2 go rounds, you get to go in line again and then you come back in for your pictures. I had some time to sit on it like, okay, now I gotta fucking make things right when I go back in there again for my picture. And I went back in there and pretty much just said the same thing. Like, I wasn't talking shit. I pretty much just said it again. And I think Violent J is kind of hard to read, honestly. Like, sometimes I feel like I don't know what he's thinking. But Shaggy's a lot more direct. He said, we know who's real and who's fake. So I thought that was nice. He was trying to kind of affirm to me that he understood what I was trying to say. And I think that he did. So I think I kind of salvaged it. Shaggy, in fact, told me that he would like to listen to my show sometime. He asked me when it goes on. I told him I just do it whenever I feel like it. But let it be known, Shaggy 2 Dope wants to listen to my show. So if anybody who's listening to this has some way to get this episode to Shaggy, tell him, hey, why not start with this one? Check this one out. I even told him, like, I'll probably be doing an episode about this very concert. So let it be known, Shaggy 2 Dope wants to give my show a chance. If anyone has any access to 2 Dope and wants to give him a link to this episode, then by all means. He requested it. It was by his request. So put that out there. Got my picture. And just as I was about to walk out the door, Shaggy stopped me and he goes, hey, I'm going to put you up on game on Les Nessman. And I said, oh, I already looked him up. I already know who that is now. And he goes, well, I'm going to tell you something you don't know because you had no idea what I was talking about when I brought up the bandage. I was like, all right, let's hear it. He goes, every episode of WKRP in Cincinnati, every time you saw Les Nessman, he had a Band-Aid on in a different area, like on his head or his fingers. So that's why I asked you where your Band-Aid is. So I told him, all right, well, I'm going to start doing that now then. I'm going to put on that Band-Aid just for you. So Murder Mayhem Show listeners, don't be surprised if you see me sporting a Band-Aid in the next video edition of the Murder Mayhem Show because that goes out to Shaggy. So got my picture, went back out to the main area of the venue, just waited for ICP at that point, and they fucking killed it. They fucking crushed it, killed it. Great intro, great set. Spoiler alerts at this point. If you haven't seen the show yet and you're planning on it and you don't want to know what happens, then turn this off right now because they fucking killed the shit. They came out to Red Fred. That was the first track that they did when their set started. They did that Red Fred track from Fearless Fred Fury. Did a good job with that. Went right into Fury after that, which is a tough song to perform, I gotta imagine. There's a lot of lyrics to that song, and it's fast. It's hard to keep up with, but they did a good rendition of Fury. And then after Fury, it pretty much just stuck with old school shit. Like a little bit later on in the set, they did Seriously Hilarious, and they also did Night of Red Rum. And aside from those 4 Fearless Fred Fury tracks, I'm pretty sure that everything else that they did was from the first 6 Joker's Cards era. Like there was some bizarre stuff and Forgotten Freshness stuff in the mix in there as well, but I'm pretty sure that aside from those Fred Fury tracks, everything else they did was old school. Like there was a lot of Hell's Pit. They did Let's Go All the Way. They did Halls of Illusions. They did Chicken Huntin'. A lot of the standbys you'd love to hear. Some kind of curveballs in there too. They did the Kiss the Clown track from Beverly Kills, which, I mean, that's a weird one, but I love it. I wasn't mad at that at all. They did the Nedden Game, which they've been doing live a lot lately, but I don't recall anything from The Tempest, Bang Pow Boom, Mighty Death Pop, or Missing Link. I could be wrong. I mean, I feel like that the odds are there were probably at least some newer tracks in there that I'm just not remembering. But mostly what I remember is that it was old school shit and it was wicked shit. Like, that seemed to be the big theme for the whole set list. Like, the wicked shit. And that's why it was fucking great. I love the wicked shit. It always goes over great live. Had an awesome time. Great performance. Loved it. The Fago was flying freely. They did a little something something and had the Juggalettes get on stage for that one and shoot Fagos. That was fun to watch. I did notice that during Lil Something Something, they actually changed one of the lines. The part where Jay says, "There she goes, she working at Dairy Queen. Bitch couldn't be a day over 15. When they did it live at the Fury Fest tour, they said, "Bitch couldn't be a day over 23. I was like, that's probably smart. Probably best to cover your ass on that line. But the Juggalos knew. We know. We know what the line is. But yeah, good show. Great stuff. They did fucking... What did they do off Hell's Pit? I definitely remember there being probably 3 or 4 tracks from Hell's Pit. I think they did Truly Alone. So, yeah, a lot of great bangers for sure. Loved it. Had an awesome time. Got on stage during Fago Armageddon. That was fun. No better way to get totally fucking covered in head to toe with Fago than to be part of the Fago Armageddon. There's no escaping it up there. You will leave that concert drenched as shit if you do that Fago Armageddon. And I got to meet some of those Wichita Juggalos that I knew were going to be there, and I also even got to meet Scotty Two Balls from Carnival Spirits. I didn't even know he was a Wichita Juggalo, but I saw him putting out on Instagram and shit that he was there while I was there, so I was like, oh fuck, I gotta meet this dude. Friendly ass dude, great guy. He did VIP as well, so I got to chop it up with him a little bit in the VIP line. So a great night, good stuff, loved it, fun time. Ouija Mac was chilling at his merch table after his performance, so I got to take a few seconds to say what's up to him as well before ICP came out. So very happy with the show. I plan to hit up another date later on if possible, so we'll see how that works out. One kind of weird note, one asterisk to the night, was that as I was there, I was looking at Twitter in between acts and stuff, and I saw this whole thing folding out that I knew was just not going to be going in a good direction. And what I'm talking about is this jelly roll thing. Now, unless you're not plugged into Juggalo social media whatsoever, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Jelly Roll tweeted out that he was not invited to the gathering because he was told that they weren't inviting acts for 2 years in a row, which, of course, by now we know that that's not the case at all. There's been plenty of acts already announced that played there last year, including Tech9 and Guar and some others. So he tweeted that out, and then there was various responses from various people, some involved, some not involved. And I'm just seeing this pop off on Twitter, and I'm thinking, I don't like where this is going. I knew from Jelly Roll's tweet that it was not going to be going in a positive direction. And in the following days since then, a lot of people have weighed in. There's been a lot of talk about it. And I wanted to weigh in a little bit myself, but this is my angle on this, and this is what my angle on this type of thing always is, probably always will be for the most part, which is let it go, everyone. And that goes across the board. That would be my advice to Jelly Roll. Just let it go. That would be my advice to Psychopathic. Just let it go. That would be my advice to the Juggalos. Just let it go. That would be my advice to other artists and stuff that feel the need to inject themselves into the conversation. Just let it go, everyone. Did Psychopathic lie to Jelly Roll? It sounds like it. He says that they told him they weren't inviting any artist 2 years in a row. I believe him. I have no reason to doubt him. I don't know the man personally, but I don't think he would just make something like that up. So yeah, maybe they did bullshit him, but it happens. That's just life. What I don't think Jelly Roll should have done was get on there and put it on blast. He had some other tweets after that about like that he's gonna unveil all the secrets and shit that he knows. Whatever he said, I don't even want to get into it like that. Break it down, analyze it tweet by tweet, because It just shouldn't be that big of a deal. And I tweeted out that I don't agree with the way Jelly Roll handled the situation, but I'm not mad at him because you can disagree with someone without hating them. That's kind of the cornerstone of my whole argument about Twisted, is like, you can disagree with them not playing the march. You can disagree with them signing the artists that they've signed. You can disagree with them on all kinds of different things, but you don't have to hate someone just because you disagree with them. And this Jelly Roll thing falls right under that category. Like, did he respond the way that I would have? No, but so what? I don't know the dude. I don't know ICP or anyone at Psychopathic, like, on friendly terms. I know of them. I've met some of them. I've had interactions with all these people. I've met Jelly Roll before. Seemed like a nice guy. But I'm not going to start hating Jelly Roll over this. Why the fuck? That's just stupid shit. So, while I disagree with Jelly Roll's approach, what I would have done is just let it go, or reached out to some contact at Psychopathic personally and say, what's the deal with this, whatever. What I wouldn't have done is put everyone on blast on Twitter, but that's me. That's no reason to hate him just because he didn't approach it the same way that I would have. So, just get off his nuts. I do think that we run into a problem sometimes when artists start having the expectation of playing the Gathering. And I don't know specifically how, if this applies to Jelly Roll or whatever, but just in general, across the board, sometimes artists get into this place where they feel like that they deserve to be playing the Gathering. And that's always kind of a dicey scenario, because playing the Gathering is a privilege. And if they don't invite you to play, then they don't invite you to play. And if they give you a bullshit reason, then their worst crime is being bad liars. But I don't think not inviting anyone is a slap in the face. There should be no expectation that certain people are going to be invited. Now, giving them that bullshit reason when they could have just been up front with them, I'll grant you that it's like not the most professional way to deal with the situation, but who cares? Just let it go, everyone. I love Jelly Roll, and I'm not going through this shit again. This shit of like, well, am I allowed to like this artist because he said this about that artist, and that artist is cool with this artist, and ICP said this about this artist, and that guy's wearing this person's merch and all this bullshit. This person opened for this person, and is that okay? It's like, I'm not playing into that shit. I'm liking the artists who make the music that I like and who seem like cool people. And Jelly Roll seems like a cool-ass dude to me. I'm not going to hate on him for that. So, that's kind of my piece on that. I don't know where this fucking shit is going, but there's no reason to take it there. Let's just chill out, everyone. That's my input. And it actually kind of segues into the last thing that I wanted to talk about here, which was something that happened a few days later. I noticed on my Twitter account that I've been blocked by Esham. I have no idea why. I don't think I've even tweeted anything at Esham or about Esham in years. I mean, only positive stuff. Only shit about, like, how Esham killed it when he opened for ICP at the Malenko and Friends tour. Shit about how I always thought that supervillains should have been just ICP and Esham. He's been putting out some new music lately that I tweeted that I liked. When the E&J tour got canceled, I mentioned that I thought that that was unfortunate for Esham. Like, I sympathized with him on that. I don't think I've said anything negative about Esham in years, probably. And whatever the last negative thing that I said about Esham was probably no worse than the worst thing that I've said about anyone else, i.e. not that bad. So, I don't know if this is some kind of misunderstanding or if I've said something to offend Esham, but either way, this is a perfect example to show you guys that I practice what I preach completely. Like, my whole advice that I just went on about this Jelly Roll thing, about just let it go, as far as this Esham situation, I've already let it go. There was never even anything to hold on to, because as soon as I saw it, my first thought was, oh shit, I hope I can clear this up. Like, there was no shitty response on my end, like, oh, this motherfucker Esham blocked me, well, he's fucking irrelevant piece of shit anyway. There was no trash talking, there was no bullshit, because that's just not what I believe in. My only thought upon seeing that Esham had blocked me was, oh fuck, I hope I didn't say something rude about Esham. I hope I can clear this up with Esham. And so that's what I tweeted, and that's what I put on Instagram. Like, hey, Esham, if I said something to upset you, let's squash this shit. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. I'm a big fan. I love Esham. So that just goes to show that I'm not bullshitting when I say we need to let this kind of stuff go. Like, there's no reason to be mad. Just work through it, whatever it is. It's the advice that I gave to Jelly Roll just now, and it's the advice that I put into action myself. Like, no reason to get mad, no reason to make a situation worse. All you can do is try to squash it, and that's what I want to put out there. Like, hey, Esham, I'm sorry that you've blocked me. I don't know why. I think maybe Esham just blocks all the podcasters. I really don't know. Like, honestly, I don't think it's anything personal at all. I think maybe someone tweeted something about me that he didn't like, and so he blocked me. Maybe I tweeted something that he didn't like. I have no clue. But whatever it is, it couldn't possibly be that big of a deal. I love Esham. It couldn't possibly be so big of a deal that I'm willing to burn the bridge with a man that I greatly admire. So, to Esham, if I've said something to upset you, let's squash it. If I said nothing to upset you and you blocked me on accident or just randomly, then I hope you reconsider that choice. And that's that. I hope to have an opportunity to bump into Esham face-to-face again one day. You know, I have before over the years, in my many years of concert going. I've seen Esham around here and there, had a few opportunities to talk to him. I hope to again soon, so that I can say to him, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you've blocked me on Twitter, and I don't know why. And I don't care why. All I care about is squashing it. So, anyway, for whatever that's worth, I wanted to get that off my chest as well. So, I think that just about wraps this up. I am going to give a quick plug to the Jekyll Brothers 20-year anniversary documentary that'll be coming out on Faygo Lovers very soon, within the next day or two, because I am on that shit. Yes, I made a collaborative video with Roanbone of Beneath the Dirt, and I'm going to be on that Jekyll Brothers documentary that is premiering on Faygo Lovers. I had a great time doing it. Jekyll Brothers was my introduction to the Juggalo world, so I definitely had a lot of passionate feelings about that you're going to want to check out. So peep that out. You can find all my Murder Mayhem Show shit at murdermayhemshow.com. There's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please follow me on Instagram. I only have like 200 followers. Makes me look like a bitch. I got to bust that shit up, because it seems like most people use Instagram now, and when they see my follow count, they think I'm some kind of chump. They don't see the 1,300 followers I have on Twitter. That's where my money is, Twitter. That's where all my eggs are, in that basket, the Twitter basket. So please follow me on Instagram. Let's bust that count up a little bit. And again, if you can get this episode into the ear holes of Shaggy 2 Dope, please know that it was by his request. Someone put that little bird in his ear. Say, hey, you want to check out Les Nessman's podcast? Fucking follow this link and link him up. And all you'll have to tell him is Les Nessman, and he'll know who you're talking about. So, until next time,